Hi, friends. Welcome back to Live, Laugh, Love Life. This is part 2 of OCD and OCD Awareness Month. Hopefully, this will still be in October. I'm not very good with dates. This might not come out in October. It might come out beginning of November. If so, so sorry. But if you didn't watch the last episode, go watch that. I introduced the whole topic. October is OCD Awareness Month, so I thought it would be the perfect time. If you didn't know, I have OCD. I was diagnosed 3 years ago, and where I left off in the last episode was with my personal experience. So, last episode, I talked about the misconceptions surrounding OCD and what the actual disorder is, and what some other people, including myself, might be experiencing on a daily basis. So, go check out that episode to gain some knowledge about what OCD is not and what it actually is. All right, I'm so happy you're all here. I hope you had a great week, like I said, and we're just going to get right back into this. It's the same day for me. I literally clicked stop and then clicked record again. So let's do this. I was at my personal experience. So, like I said last week, I thought going chronologically would be a little daunting. So, we're actually going to start with my diagnosis. To do that, I actually have a note on my notes app that I brought to my first therapy appointment to try to articulate what was going on to this therapist. And mind you, when I wrote all this stuff, I had no clue she was going to eventually diagnose me with OCD. So I'll tell you what happened. I read this all to her. She asked follow-up questions throughout. The specifics I don't remember, but I tried my best to answer them as well as I could. And then she had like a questionnaire thing. I guess psychologists, she was a psychologist, not just a therapist, a psychologist, a doctor. She had, I don't know if all psychologists just like have questionnaires for like every mental illness, disorder, possible diagnosis in the book, just like packets just sitting there. But she was like, 1 minute, just got her files out, flipped through, was like, aha, this is the packet I was looking for, and started just firing off questions. Okay, it wasn't like that. But if you've ever been diagnosed with like autism, for example, I feel like they do a questionnaire for that, and they go through and ask you like the most random questions, and you're just like, girl, I don't know. And I feel like when you actually have the disorder is when it's the most difficult to answer these questions because you're overthinking every single thing and every single answer. You're like, oh my God, like, did I just lie? Did I just skew the results? Blah, 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 blah. But she eventually, I don't know if it was the second appointment or the first, but it took us a few sessions to get through the entire questionnaire. And at the end, she was like, great news for you. You've got OCD. No, it was not like that either. I'm kidding. But the general consensus was, yeah, babe, you've got OCD. Congratulations. Like, I don't know. And then she introduced the lovely, lovely thought of exposure therapy. If you've ever heard of exposure therapy, you might think, that sounds like torture. Why, yes, it is. Oh my gosh, yes, it is. I can't wait to tell you guys all about it. But first, I'm gonna read you my note. Don't cry. It's not worth it. But I might cry reading this actually. I read it back a couple days ago and I was like, wow, Miss Girl was going through it. And this was like not even the worst of it. I should set a timeline also. I went in like October maybe of ninth grade. How fitting would that be? Diagnosed with OCD during OCD Awareness Month? Anyways, it was like late October, maybe early November. My friends at school were like, Clara, this is a problem. Like, you need to see a therapist. You need to tell your parents right now. I want to go see a therapist. And I was like, okay, like, I don't want to, but I guess I will because they're telling me. Thank God for my friends, like, honestly. So I went to my parents. I was like, hey guys, I'm like struggling. This is not funny anymore. Like, this is not okay. I can't handle it. I need to go talk to someone. They got right on it. I went to my old psychologist that I saw back when I was 7 and still had OCD. Oh my God, what a shocker. What a surprise. But we were working on other problems back then. Anyway, I wrote this out just It was my little, what was I, 13, 14? My 14-year-old thoughts just dumped out in this notes app. So let's just go for it. I wrote, "Why I'm here. For a long time now, I've been having ups and downs, and in the downs, I depress myself and just make myself miserable. And I thought I would be able to fix it myself, but I think I am the problem as well as the solution, and that's just really hard to deal with by myself. So I wanted to talk to someone who may understand better and be able to help me come up with ways to help myself." All right. There was another part to that, but I'm not reading it. "I think I haven't forgiven myself for past actions. I knew it was wrong to be inflexible and perfectionistic, so I took those traits away from others and directed them all towards myself, instead of just getting rid of them or controlling them. I'm not sure." Okay, that part doesn't really make sense to me. I was saying my characteristics of inflexibility and perfectionism, which I 100% had and still have. Something about that took away from others and directed them all towards myself. Okay, I don't know. Instead of getting rid of them or controlling them. So that is obviously like a need for control and getting rid of any discomfort of any kind. Problems, in parentheses, feels like I can't control them / I don't know how. Negative self-talk. I can be really mean to myself. Parentheses. I've made myself cry for no reason by just bullying myself. That is true. I remember actually multiple times where my own like thought cycles in my brain made me cry. External influences are non-existent in the way I think of myself. In parentheses, I want that to be because I love myself, not hate myself. Okay, I have trouble trying to get better. In parentheses, I will think I deserve to be stuck in this loop of self-hatred and abuse. I hate my birthday. Parentheses, I don't think I should be celebrated. My thoughts go to when I thought I shouldn't exist because it would be better for everyone. I have so many feelings that it's overwhelming, and I end up just having to pretend to be happy because I think I'm supposed to be happy on my birthday. I don't like getting gifts. I have trouble taking compliments. I don't ask for things I want. I have little social confidence. Parentheses, I assume no one likes me or hates me because that's how I feel about myself. I project my own critiques onto other people, doing it even though it's really just me. I don't participate in class, and I have trouble talking about and expressing my own ideas or feelings, parentheses, because I think nothing I have to say is good or right because I'm a terrible person that shouldn't be heard. I can't feel proud of myself. Parentheses, I have extremely high expectations, and when I meet them, instead of being happy, I raise them just so I can tell myself I didn't do well enough. I can't be happy with accomplishments because I always just say that I could have done better and turn it negative. I get jealous of other people's seeming happiness, social ease, accomplishments, and talents, which then makes me feel bad because I think I shouldn't be jealous. Wow, that was a doozy, wasn't it? Okay. You might have seen or thought like I had pretty much no reaction to that whatsoever. It's just because I remember this like the back of my hand. I didn't need to read this to to remind me that that's how I felt, and those are the things that I dealt with. I know that. I'm well aware. I'm reading this so you guys can hear it and so you can understand. So, the main thing that I want to point out with this is a lot of times you can hear me saying all these things about me making myself cry or me convincing myself that I shouldn't be here anymore. I don't deserve this, that, and the other thing. I'm a horrible person. And one of the things that therapy and my diagnosis really helped me do is separate my OCD from myself and my brain and say, hey, that thought was not me. That thought was not true to who I am. That thought is ego dystonic. We talked about that in the last episode. Basically, it means that the intrusive thoughts that we have a lot of times go against our values, our morals, who we are as a person, and that makes us feel extremely uneasy as a result, obviously. So therapy really helped me separate, hey, that was OCD. That was not me. I don't think that. OCD is just telling me that. If you watched the last episode, you might have been reminded. I don't know if you remember, because for me it was like 3 seconds ago, but for you guys it's been a whole week. We talked about just the things that people can get obsessed with and the things that OCD can convince us of, and a lot of times it ends in you're a bad person, people would be better off without you. Just really horrible thoughts that no one should ever have to deal with, but unfortunately too many of us do. Yeah, so that's what I went to her with, and she was clocking it immediately. She was probably like, oh, I see what's going on here. And she also diagnosed me with general anxiety, but that will be discussed in another episode because I just don't have time to talk about all this and all of that in one. It's too much. Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit more specifically about my experience before my diagnosis and what sort of led me to go to therapy. Obviously, that might have given you some hints. I was dealing with a lot of thoughts regarding who I was, my impact on the people around me, because I did not have a super happy-go-lucky childhood where we were all just best friends. As a kid, I was just not very well behaved. I'm not really sure where it came from. I don't have a lot of memories of my childhood. We're all good now. I feel fairly healed, but that's another thing. I also have no idea where my OCD came from. It's been a while since I was in therapy. I stopped maybe a year and a half ago. So it has been a while. I just felt like I got the tools and the coping mechanisms that I needed for my little mental health toolbox, and I consistently was going and being like, I don't have anything to talk about. So there are things that we might have covered that just have slipped my mind by now. But I do want to say I think I have had OCD for a very long time, because I remember being as young as like 7 years old and genuinely believing, like being convinced that the people around me would be better off if I wasn't there. I thought I was a horrible person, and I did do a lot of pretty crap things to my peers, my siblings, probably my other family members too. I know I made my grandma cry multiple times. I'm sure I made my mom cry. I don't know what was going on there. But regardless, I had this sort of compass. You think of like a moral compass, but I think of this as like the perfectionism OCD compass in my mind, where it's like any teeny tiny thing. I became so obsessed with being like perfect. Meanwhile, I was the complete opposite, and that did not help anything whatsoever, because the teeny tiniest thing, I was thinking about this the other day, it made me so sad to think about. But I remember I could just be like talking a little bit loudly and someone would be on the phone and they'd ask me to quiet down, not telling me I did anything wrong. Like, it's not my fault. It's a normal kid thing to just be getting a little rambunctious and have to be told, like, hey, can you quiet down, please? And it would be like, first time they asked, not even like, I already asked you to be quiet. And they wouldn't tell me in a mean way or any way that would suggest that this was some horrible thing that I did that needed to be punished. But I remember, like, my main compulsion was hitting myself. And I don't mean just like, ha ha ha, like play hit. I mean like smack my forehead so hard, smack my face so hard. It was like hand was stinging, forehead was stinging, probably a red mark every single time. And I was strong. 7-year-old Clara was doing karate, she was doing gymnastics, she was swimming, she was horseback riding. She was doing everything you could possibly think of for that arm strength. Like, this girl was strong as heck. I was hanging from the monkey bars for hours a day. So I was not just like a normal little kid strong. I was strong. And I could hit myself hard. And you best believe that's exactly what I did. And I don't know, I think I probably did it mostly in private. Um, oh my god, did I make myself? I cried so much. I like can't even think about that part of my life cuz it's just like oh, it's bad. Yeah, but it was basically any teeny tiny little mistake I did was like borderline knock myself out because that's what my brain convinced me I deserved. That was my punishment that my brain told me was what needed to happen in order for whatever little tiny mistake I made to be forgiven. So, yeah, and then more recently, before my diagnosis, my entire middle school, my main obsession was definitely relationship OCD. It was with my friends, and we had so many fights. I'm pretty sure none of them liked me, and probably for good reason too. I just did not know how to act. And then obviously, when they would react and, be upset with me for good reason, it was just me in a constant state of, oh my God, they hate me. Oh my God, I'm a horrible person. Oh my God, we can never get through this. We'll never be friends again. What if they don't like me? I want to be their favorite friend so bad, but I'm their least favorite friend. They like so and so better than me, blah, blah, blah. So that was rough. And then 8th grade, I had my first, well, it was really my second real like crush, but it was so intense and toxic in a way that it was not just a normal crush. It was one completely consumed by OCD and used as like a form of like, I don't even know. It's hard to describe. The people who were there know what it was like because it was constant. It was this girl, and I could not talk about anything but her. I could not think about anything but what she thought of me and how I was presenting myself around her and blah, 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 blah. And obviously, she didn't like me. I don't blame her at all for that. And then, yeah, 9th grade, there was like this one comment that this kid made, and we're friendly now, but he made this one comment and it sent me into this absolute spiral. And that was, I think, when my friends were like, yeah, Clara, you need to go to therapy, friend. It was like I was crying in multiple classes every day, and I was like, yeah, this is getting bad. And the whole basis of it was just, I'm a horrible person. Don't deserve this, that, and the other thing. I do deserve these horrible punishments, blah, blah, blah. I also remember this one time in, I think it was 8th grade, we did a production of Fiddler on the Roof. It's a musical. Look it up if you don't know it. It was a fun time. But I was asked to play clarinet live on the stage. I had to memorize the music. It was a short little like song for the bottle dancers in the wedding scene. So it's pretty short, nothing too crazy. I was very excited to play since I did not get a good part, and I will definitely do an episode on my like audition horror stories and all that as a theater person. I'm actually wearing a sweatshirt of the play I was in last fall. It was called Trap. Anyway, we did this show multiple nights, multiple performances, and like I said, I was very, very perfectionistic, and any teeny tiny mistake I made in any area, in any aspect of my life, was like it was the end of the world. So I don't even know. I think like if you know a clarinet, there's like all those pinky keys and they're slippery. They're like metal, and I'm nervous, so my hands are sweating. I also had very little time to like prep and figure it out, and my reed was not wet because I didn't have enough time to, I don't know. It was not a great setup. I tried my best in the circumstances, but according to my OCD, I didn't try hard enough because I come out and I do the song and listening back to it, I'm like, it's really not even that bad. There was like maybe one finger slip and I did like a little squeak and maybe a wrong note. God forbid, right? It just about wanted to die. Like it was as if I had just committed a murder. Could not even be happy at the end of the show. Like there was nothing else on my mind but that worst performance ever. One, like maybe two teeny tiny mistakes that I made. And I came home, guys, I was sobbing, sobbing, throwing things in my room. We had like a punching bag. It's actually right there, but you can't see it. Anyway, he had a punching bag and boxing gloves, and I put them on and was like beating the crap out of this punching bag. Because if it wasn't the punching bag, it was going to be myself. And my mom was extremely concerned, obviously. She was like, Clara, do you think maybe you need to like lower your expectations for yourself a little bit? But the thing is, like, in my mind, it was not an option to be any less than impossibly perfect. But thinking about that night and the way I felt, just like, it was the only thing on my mind. It was all consuming. It was like the anger I felt towards myself for making this teeny tiny mistake and just convincing myself. This OCD was convincing me somehow that I was supposed to be perfect, and because I wasn't, it was just the absolute end of the world. Moving on to the therapy process. So after I got diagnosed, of course and anyone with OCD will tell you this. We constantly have our OCD convincing us that we don't actually have OCD, that we lied on the questionnaire, that we're just faking it for everyone, we're faking it for attention, it's not real, we don't actually have it, whatever. There were many instances where we're pulling into the little therapy parking lot of the offices, and I'm thinking to myself, like, what am I even doing here? I'm totally fine. I don't have OCD. What the heck? Did I say something wrong? Like, why does this woman think I have OCD? Like, such a liar, such a fake. Like, I obviously don't have OCD. So that was a time, and I still get into those grooves where I'm like, no, I don't have OCD. No, I don't have anxiety. And then I have like an episode and I'm like, never mind. Just kidding. Yes, I definitely do. So there's that. In therapy, we mostly focused on exposure therapy. Like I mentioned before, I had to do exposure therapy. I would say it was not that bad, but then I think about the stuff I had to do and it makes me so violently uncomfortable. It was meant to sort of get me out of the rut of perfectionism and being so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. So the main goal was just to have me sit in this discomfort, to have me purposefully make mistakes, to have me purposefully do things that were quote unquote not perfect, not just right, as you might say. So examples of things she had me do were, oh my gosh, once she had me call like a pizza place or something. She looked on the menu and she was like, okay, this pizza place does not have Asian cuisine in any sense. She was like, okay, I'm gonna call them, I'm gonna hand you the phone, and you're gonna order sushi and wonton soup. I was like, excuse me? So yeah, she had me call a pizza place and order something I knew was not on the menu, and the workers were so confused, and she was just sitting there watching me. No help. Just, you got this, queen. Yeah, so that was horrifying. When I think about it, I'm like, oh, it was not that bad. But then if someone tried to have me do that right now, I'd be like, fuck no. Are you kidding me? I do want to say she didn't force me to do any of these. Obviously, you have to consent to doing the exposure therapy and you only go as far as you'll go. Like, they can't force you to do anything. But I wanted to get better. I really did. So, this one time I remember she suggested ideas for things that I could do. I once went to school a full day. In the morning, I drew like a blue or purple line of pen just like right across my cheek on my face. Very visible, very dark line. And I went the entire school day with it. The entire school day. I just had to walk in there smiling like nothing was on my face at all and have all these people looking at me, not knowing what they were thinking. Yeah, I'm really proud of myself for that because that was hard, especially as like a high school freshman. Can you imagine? There were other much smaller ones. Those are the two that really stick out to me. I know she also had me do this exercise one time. She had me stare at a painting on the wall and just think in my head for like a minute straight, that painting is gonna fall. That painting is gonna fall. And just like will it to fall off the wall. And obviously it didn't. And that exercise was sort of meant to prove to me, to solidify in the logical part of my brain somehow that this whole like magical thinking OCD, this idea, this anxiety that anything I think must be true is just complete, and it's just plain and simply not. She gave me this really good idea to just start labeling all my OCD thoughts as fake news. Just anytime my OCD was like, that girl hates you, I'd just be like, yeah, fake news. Fake news, mother. Try again. I don't know if that worked super well for me, but the combination of exposure therapy, just like talking everything out and realizing that this is a separate entity from myself and these thoughts are ego dystonic and oh, I don't actually hate myself. My OCD is just trying to convince me that I hate myself because I had one thought that was like, you're not perfect, you suck. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're telling me I want to die? Okay, great. Let's run with that. And I'm saying these like out of pocket things. But if anyone with OCD is listening, you're thinking like, girl, that is not even the half of it. Like, I'm going easy on you guys. For real. Yeah, so eventually we also came to the conclusion that I should maybe try medication. So I did try therapy first. I did therapy first, okay? We didn't go to medication straight away. And it was for both my anxiety and my OCD. It works great for me. I had consults with doctors, the pediatrician, the psychologist. She's not a psychiatrist, so she can't prescribe anything, but she suggested going to the doctor, telling them, these are your diagnoses, blah, blah, blah. First medication I tried was great. We got me to a dosage that works. I've been on it for multiple years. And do you guys know that there's like a depression screening or something that they do when you go to the doctor and you answer like all these questions? And I remember the answers that indicated signs of depression before I started taking my medication, it was at like 14 or something. And after, it went down to 2. And the questions were things like, I often think of hurting myself. I'm often extremely restless and can't pay attention. I often don't eat 3 meals a day. I often get less than this many hours of sleep. Blah, blah, blah. Or it would be like statements, and then it would be like always, often, sometimes, rarely, never. And it would be like, in the past 2 weeks, have you thought about committing or, whatever. Those sorts of things. And my answers that were like always or sometimes, they went down from 14 to 2 after taking this medication. And I can tell you guys, my life has improved so dramatically. Anyone who knows me, who has known me like before and after and through this whole time, can tell you it is like night and day. My life has been just like dramatically improved. So if you need help, like really, really recommend getting it if you can and seeking it. Like it's so, I can't believe I sat for over 10 years just like chilling with this, but I wasn't chilling. That's the thing. Like I was hurting so badly and I didn't even know that OCD was a possibility, that that's what it could be. So the doctors know more than you. So yeah, I know that was probably a lot, especially for those of you who have never really heard of OCD or never really thought of it that deeply. This can be a lot to process. I just want to reiterate that I am thriving now. I'm doing great. I am so much better. And thinking back to these times in my life where I was struggling can be hard, but it does just make me feel so much more grateful for where I am today. I know I haven't been looking at the camera as much as I usually do. I don't know if it just has to do with the topic and I'm just looking every which way for some reason, but this was something really important to me to talk about, and I wanted to make sure to do it before OCD Awareness Month was over. So I hope you all learned something new, and I just really want to encourage you to remember that everyone is going through something. A lot of times that thing is invisible, and you might have no knowledge or education about it whatsoever. So don't make assumptions. Always remember that everyone's going through something and you might just not know what that is. I try to lead with kindness as much as possible. I know that going through these sorts of things and knowing that the people around me often have no idea what I'm going through has given me a lot more empathy and perspective into how I treat other people when I don't know what they're going through, because I mean, sometimes people just aren't comfortable sharing, or they have things like OCD that convince them that they are the problem and there's actually nothing wrong and it's all in their head, which it is, but it's not them themselves, it's OCD. There are just so many different things that people can have going on, whether it's a mental illness or something else. But, you know, if you see someone has like extra time on a test, I do, or they're in and out of class a lot, or, something a little different than the way you operate in your everyday life, whether it's at school or at work or wherever. Don't make assumptions. Don't be rude. Lead with kindness. Assume, that you have no clue what's going on in their life. And you don't have to know every detail about what's going on in a person's life to make their day better, or at the very least, not make their day worse. And I have faith that all of you and me, of course, because I have plenty of room to grow in a lot of areas, will continue to strive every day to understand others, be more empathetic, more compassionate, lead with kindness, and always educate ourselves on new things. And yeah, just live, laugh, love life, guys. Okay? I hope you all have a great week. I'll see you next time in November. Bye.